Okay, so Black Adam is the new addition to the DC Cinematic Universe, which, let's be honest, have been having somewhat of a bumpy ride when it comes to all sorts of things happening on screen and behind the screen, leaving people over time to speculate pretty much if the DCEU is even going to be a thing anymore. Now, in my personal opinion, all these DC movies was built upon the back of what Zack Snyder started, aka the Snyderverse. I mean, without it, we probably would not even have the films that we have now. And in the midst of people's theoretical claims as to what the WB was going to do about the future of these films due to their, significant changes within their business arrangements, the people was given a glimpse to the films which was to come back in 2020 during the DC Fandom. And what an interesting year that was. Since then, Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock, has been going on this campaign saying,
"The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change."
The more I keep hearing this, I was just thinking that, he was just talking his talk as a means to establishing, what he think his character ranks amongst the other characters, I guess within power. But the more I dive into this, the more I realize he was saying that for more than one reason. But anyway, fast forward, now we have Black Adam. Now, was this film worth all the hype, and could this film be what the DCEU needs? Let's talk about it. Alright, so Black Adam is a 2022 film directed by Jume Khaled Sierra. You know what? Just screw it. I provide the proper pronunciation so you can try to say it for yourself. But anyway, he's the one that directed other films such as Orphan and House of Wax, with another film known as Jungle Cruise. And in that film, the leading actor is also the leading actor within the film that we're reviewing today. What a coincidence. So Black Adam is about a man named Teth Adam who lives as a slave long ago in this place known as Kahndaq. To oversimplify without spoiling anything, a bunch of bad stuff happens and Adam ends up with the power similar to that of his more heroic counterpart, Shazam. These powers would include invulnerability to most things that are not magical, Quicksilver-like speed, and there's a reason why I said that in particular. Watch the film and you'll understand why. He also has strength, flight, electricity, so he can pretty much behave as if he's Raiden, the god of lightning from the Mortal Kombat franchise. And overall, he really is like Superman, unhinged in a lot of ways. And it kinda makes me wonder about the actual power scale when it comes to these DC characters, cause some of these powers that I would think would be exclusive to only a few just seems like it's standard now. But that's a topic for another day. So, unlike Superman, Black Adam is not what you would like to call a hero within a traditional sense. He will be considered an anti-hero, similar to how Riddick was within those movies. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, here are the movies that you should check out, and you will probably understand after watching them. But if you already saw them, good for you, and if you know, you know. And the thing about Black Adam is that, well, he's ruthless in his methods, but he kinda governs his behavior by his own code. And one of his tendencies is not minding filling up mortuaries with bodies. But back to the plot. So something went down between Black Adam and the king that was keeping his people in captivity, resulting in him being locked away for about 5,000 years. That is, until he's awakened only to find that, well, not that much has changed within his land. I mean, the people are still subjugated to outside forces, but this time it's within the form of an organization by the name of Intergang. In the midst of this civil struggle between this organization and this people is an archaeologist by the name of Adriana Tomaz who finds the crown of Sabath and another certain somebody. Along with her son, Amon and her brother try to pretty much stop Intergang from succeeding without being killed in the process. One of the main things that this movie hints on is what does it mean being a hero, or trying to understand what is perceived to be good or bad, depending on the outcomes actually. Like, there was one particular scene within this movie where this was perfectly illustrated. Within the scene, it literally showed how one person's actions, though maybe a little bit undignified, unjust, and possibly even immoral, can be seen as heroic through the eyes in which whom benefits from it. But in the beginning of the film, it gave you the cookie cutter definition of what a hero is, standing up for something good in the face of adversity. But it really never hits home until the arrival of a group of heroes that from the trailer made people think that DC was just copying off of Marvel. I mean, look, you got a doctor that behaves like Doctor Strange. You got a full-body suit person that makes mistakes and cracks jokes like a person that is new to the hero business. You have a lady who controls wind and a black guy whose persona deals with some type of bird that flies around. I mean, look, they even have an estate that opens up whenever they want to fly around in a state-of-the-art personal jet. The heroes are known as the JSA, which stands for the Justice Society of America, and they're kinda like the predecessor of the Justice League. In this movie, we have what could be understood as the modern version of the team, seeing as though through many conversations, one would suspect that these heroes have been in the earlier versions of the team, probably with a bigger roster. So really, it's up for this team to find out how they can get along with Black Adam so they can, somehow stop the world from being screwed over. And the MacGuffin of the film that can do that is the Crown of Sabath, which is ultimately the item that sets things in motion and which will ultimately lead to the somewhat CGI conclusion we know hero movies to have. So as far as the pacing goes for this movie, it kinda maintains a level of speed that is really noticeable. I mean, in the beginning, we get the background exposition that sets up the film, and about like 10 to 15 minutes later, the film is like, okay, now that we got that out the way, time for what we came here to see. Time to blow things up, destruction, and, action.
You'll meet the future.
You have two choices. You can be the destroyer of this world, or you can be its savior.
Once the movie starts, there is no slowing down, even within the expositions and even down to the introduction of characters. The JSA being a prime example because through this one segment with Amanda Waller, oh yeah, and she's back in this film, this movie borrows how all the team of characters were introduced within those Suicide Squad movies, so I hope you can read fast. And one thing I can say about Amanda Waller is that she's one of the characters that sets the grounds for a scene that probably set the internet on fire. But if you was following The Rock, it was hinted at during his promo run with the subtlety of an 18-wheeler's horn.
I need you guys to help me get a message out to some of the other ones. Some of the other DC superheroes. Let's let Flash, Shazam, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. Let's let them know something.
But she isn't the only character from the DCEU that makes a return. Even that old wizard from the Shazam movie makes a return, solidifying this film as being a part of the cinematic universe. Although the continuity is still up for debate what this movie takes place in. So let's talk about the acting for a sec. The Ross portrays Black Adam as the heart of this movie, obviously, and he comes off as standoffish, calculated, and profoundly violent. He always said that he wanted to play Black Adam, and I can tell that he was having a whole lot of fun in this film. But that's to be expected after more than a decade of wanting and planning to play this role.
You were so amped to be Black Adam. I know.
Oh yeah, I'm still amped up to do it. Yeah, sure.
If and when it comes together, you're still.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. And that's what happens when you start developing a script and the ideas. There's so many people involved because it's such a big project. Everybody has their opinion on it creatively, and it's too bad though when you can't come to an agreement. But I'm sure the movie eventually will get made the way that we all collectively want to make the movie. So when that happens, yeah, that's going to be badass.
From what I could tell, it paid off. But as I stated before, Black Adam is not necessarily the most heroic, and as a matter of fact, he denies himself of being a hero and enjoys doing what heroes wouldn't do to get the job done.
Black Adam will kill you.
Kinda like another DC person who shares somewhat of a similar philosophy. The Rock did this character justice because even though there were certain characters that may not agree with this approach, the audience understood and enjoyed watching him doing his thing. Hawkman, played by Aldous Hodge, was the most insufferable hero, in which I can respect because he stands for his good morals. But the dude had to stick up his ass the whole entire time, and that's saying a lot in comparison to Black Adam that behaves like a person with an artificial intelligence just now understanding humanity. Hawkman really just gets his behind handed to him, and rightfully so in some instances. The dude just annoying. Pierce Brosnan as the infamous Dr. Fate was done well. If Hawkman and Black Adam were like children, then he would be considered the responsible adult who comes in to speak wisdom to these two stubborn individuals. I really hope to see a little bit more Dr. Fate within the DCEU's future, cause he's an interesting character to study up on. Next, bro, he's I'm just gonna put that name down here. As the character Amon, I began to see the relationship between him and Black Adam mirror that of Billy's friend in that Shazam movie when he found out that a superhuman was in his midst. Those childlike fantasies going wild about how to market a person to be like a superhero and train them in a superhero way. Kinda like becoming that superhuman's PR marketer or something. But what I do like about his character is pretty much how he rubbed off on Adam with him using his dumb catchphrase throughout the film. And lastly, I want to talk about Sarah Sahi, who plays Adriana. Now, in this movie, she isn't no damsel in distress by far, but instead she's a headstrong mother. I found her character adhering to a role that may be sexist, but in regards to overwhelming strength and powerful physicality, her mouth and attitude can even make these two knuckleheads come to an agreement, whereas Dr. Fate's passive-aggressive and pacifism probably just won't do. When it comes to her and Amon, I really hope to see what they're going to become be adapted within the DCEU. But as far as the other characters go, their characterization wasn't that much of anything but side characters for a somewhat comedic relief of some sort. And the main villain of Black Adam was Cookie Cutter. He was just evil because, well, he just wanted power and to rule over other people. There was no deep philosophical drive or reasoning. It's just your elementary, I'm the bad guy type of deal. His only purpose there was just for the heroes to stop him. That's it. Now let's talk about the cinematography for a moment. In my honest opinion, I would think Zack Snyder will actually be proud of this film, seeing as though it feels like it was shot within the same vein that he would do his films. I mean, there's a whole lot of slow motion shots for pretty much cool points, and I get it, but sometimes it feels like it overstays its welcome. Now, if there's anything that I have to give the DCEU, it's pretty much how they represent some of their characters from the source material. Well, some of the time. For example, when Batman was introduced within Batman vs Superman, there were some scenes where he literally moved around like some type of supernatural creature of the night. And here within Black Adam, he is definitely a presence that cannot ever go unnoticed. He is practically death incarnate in this movie. The kills are gruesome and plenty in this movie, and Adam is a murderer who nonchalantly ends lives as if it was actually nothing. Some kills are comedic, like his tendency to make people just take flight. But on so many occasions, he would just go wild on everybody to the point where this film just should be rated R. And when I think about it, the shock value of a person not caring about the respect of life itself becomes very trivial over time. It even gets to the point where you trying to care about some of those people who pretty much are getting ripped to shreds would be like caring about NPCs within a Grand Theft Auto game. And the last thing that any person that plays the GTA game wants to be called is pretty much a law-abiding citizen. But take note, if you do watch this film and if you have a keen eye, it will be safe to conclude that there are shots being thrown at other established heroes within pretty much their references being destroyed. Out of all of them is Superman. He gets it pretty much worse than others. But if you don't know by now, Black Adam is all about that action. So the mini fights here is something that I can never get tired of, and when people aren't fighting, something is being destroyed constantly, whether it's walls or just somebody being disrespectful to the surrounding architecture. And that right there is a little bit of a criticism that I have with this film, because when the action isn't going on, when there's dialogue for people to actually talk to each other, you can automatically just feel the momentum in this film just dying down quickly. But overall, this movie looks very beautiful to look at. Now for the final verdict. I love this film. The story contained plot twists that I would consider somewhat, refreshing. There were two things that made me a bit skeptical at first from even watching this film. The first is predictability. Like, I know how things are gonna end with the bad guy, or should I say in this case, evil being destroyed by bad. But it's the journey that counts to me. Unfortunately, from looking at a whole lot of movie previews nowadays, one can create a narrative in their mind of just how things is gonna go. And sometimes they're right. Now to me, that sucks because it takes away all the mystique and all the mystery of the film. From looking at the trailers that I saw of Black Adam, I kinda assumed that this film was gonna be about his family that was killed and somehow was reincarnated in these two people, and kinda gives him the confidence or the motivation to go off and become like, a hero within the traditional sense. But after viewing the movie, I'm happy to say that I was really off my mark. The way things go down within context made me appreciate this movie even more. It was after I dug into the comic lore that I looked at the two origin stories of Black Adam. This film took the creative liberties and did an amalgamation of them both with a little bit of twist that gives the characters better opportunities for development. But going back to what I was talking about as far as the fear is concerned. See, the first was predictability, and the second one, the second fear that I had was this movie running the risk of being oversaturated with appearances. You see, I understand the term the more the merrier, but when it comes to movies, no. Actually, more characters within the film damages the quality of the film. Quickly adding characters, and especially iconic characters at that, into the midst of things without them serving a significant role or contributing to what the film is trying to convey, it can make the films feel like they were unnecessary, rushed, and was done injustice just for shock value. The introduction of the JSA is what kind of triggered this fear for me. Does this film talk about their backgrounds? No, but it's kind of hinted at. Does this film talk about their origins? Only for the last two latest members of the GSA, and not for the most interesting and the oldest of the team, Dr. Fate and Hawkman. Instead of getting to know what or who they are, it's heavily pushed at what they do along with their personalities, if that makes sense. I hope that these characters can be fleshed out into like a HBO series or something. But going back to the overall movie, the pacing, as I said, kept moving, and for the most part it never lacked within the action department. And as for a small spoiler, there's a mid-post credit scene that I think that you should watch, so stick around for that. And at the time of this review, Black Adam is now, to my knowledge, only within the movie theaters, but when it comes out to streaming or physical, I'll include some links down below so you can check that out. But until next time, peace.